Listen, ladies, very important, okay? We're thirsty, okay? People are thirsty out here and you just have to admit that, okay? I want to be in a relationship. I want it really bad. You got to be honest with yourself. Even where I wanted a relationship. I saw him and I was like, hey, right? So be honest, like, we're thirsty. The scriptures say that we are. Like,
Where? Welcome back, everybody, to the Love in the Middle show. I'm Laban.
I'm Charity.
And today we are talking about how to know if you found the right one.
Yes, how do you know? How do you
And what do you do if you accidentally, unintentionally married the wrong one?
None of that was accidentally or unintentionally.
Well, when you look back, you'd be like, oh man.
It was an accident. It was, you were deceived in yourself. You tricked you weren't sure.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. But here's the thing though. Like,
You were sure at some point you said, I do.
But here's the thing.
You could have said, I don't.
I want to be cautious of that because like.
People get to the altar and pretend like they can't leave. Like,
Speak
you
now
can leave.
or forever hold your peace.
The whole process.
Sweating bullets.
The whole process is set up so that you have an out.
You're sitting there like, I spent thousands of dollars.
Listen, money will always grow. Money can always go. Like, money can be replaced.
Yeah. Not your reputation though. Like, that's embarrassing.
People will respect you.
No, they will not.
Listen,
No, they won't.
Some people will be upset if you leave somebody at the altar. But overall, like if you know and you can be like, no, like these are the reasons why I'm not making this decision or I'm not ready, that's respectable.
And
to be like, I'm not ready.
But then she'll be like, you could have said that last night.
You could have, but aren't you glad I'm saying it today?
No, not in the moment.
No, right.
But how do you know that? I want to be careful when you're saying that though, because you'd be like, you accidentally married the wrong one. Or if they're just having a rough patch and they think they married the wrong one.
No, I agree. So I think sometimes it's both. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I married the wrong person because things aren't going well. And actually, you just need to do some things on your end to become a better spouse.
But if he beating on you, you married the wrong one. Get out now.
Yeah, that part. But no, I think there's different nuances to it, and I think we can explore some of that.
Okay.
You want to do that first, and not do how to know you found the right one?
Oh, that's probably more important. Let's do that one first.
Or we can make them wait to get to the how to find the right one part first by talking to the people who might have feel like they married the wrong one.
Nah, cause stick with it, bro. No. Suck it up. Let's go to the ones so they don't get into the situation.
If there's not adultery involved.
Okay. It's not abuse.
There's not abuse involved.
Yes. And it's not abuse on the children.
If there's not abuse on the children involved.
Can I say that that's?
No, I think that's good.
Yes.
If those things are involved, you really should consider
getting out of there.
Getting out of there in some way, shape, or form. That could look different. You know, that might just be, we need to separate until there's some intervention and things are demonstratively better, meaning that.
I hate when you use the word, I'm like, demonstratively.
Meaning that I don't even know that.
Demonstrate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know it was a word actually, but it just sounds really good.
But you make me nervous about a word that may not exist. We gotta look it up later. Like, what is
But look, you figured out what I was saying though. That's what communication is getting your point across. I got it across. So.
I hope we can do that next time we're at odds. Like.
Nah, you'll be giving me.
Let's not go there. Okay.
But waiting till stay apart until there's a demonstration and confirmation that like
Holy Spirit confirmation.
There's been change. So
not with your heart, because we just determined that the heart is wicked and deceitful.
Your heart is
so you'd be like, I think he changed. He said he loved me. I think he's better. No.
And then you've forgotten that's what he does all the time.
Yes.
And he's just doing what he normally does.
Let the Holy Spirit say it is time. He is ready. You will know. Just wait.
Yeah. But everybody might not be there. Everybody might not be there where they actually feel like they're hearing from the Lord. So I think for some people, you might also want to seek outside counsel. Right? The Bible says in a multitude of counselors, there is victory. And so you should really seek some spiritual counsel. People who are not just like, thumping the Bible in your face. Like we do need people that uphold the truth, but you also need people that have grace and kind of understand grace, but don't go against the word of God. That's really important. And sometimes it may be a little challenging to find those kind of people, but that's why it says the multitude of counselors. So it shouldn't just be one person. You should find maybe 2 or 3 people who are more mature than you spiritually, whose life is a demonstration of spiritual maturity, not like who just know Bible.
I think everybody got that one auntie or grandma somewhere that go to church and they always praying, and you can reach out to that person. They may be annoying, a little Bible thumper, but you know that they living right.
Yeah, but so that reminds me of things I want to get off my chest about how to know if you found the right one.
Oh my gosh, when you said that, I got a little nervous, like, wait, are we okay?
Oh no, we okay. Okay. I found the right one.
No, when you said something, I'm going to get off my chest, I'm like...
Oh no, I was thinking about this topic this morning. Okay. And because we don't talk about what we're gonna say ahead of time, I was doing my own meditation, meditating on what I may feel like I wanna talk about.
So I'm following your lead?
Okay. Aren't you always?
Why didn't you just let me have that moment? Let's try it again. So I'm following your lead.
Come follow me.
Okay.
So I was thinking this morning about how to find the right one. And one thing that really stood out in my mind is, we know a lot of people who are in relationships and they're talking about getting married. Yeah. But here's one way to know this might not be the right person.
One way?
There's plenty of ways. But here's the one that I need to get off my chest.
You prayed about this?
I mean, we pray about every episode. So
no, this one you're saying that you were focusing on this one.
We prayed about the topic. I felt like God gave us this topic. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Okay. If you are afraid to introduce that person to those people who have been in your life, helping you mature and grow, and have given you wise guidance and counsel for years, we know a multitude of people that are afraid, a multitude. So if you think we're talking about you, we probably are.
Call us later.
There's a few people, but we're not saying this in a bashing way. But if you're afraid to bring that person who you think is the one to the people who have loved you through all of your drama and you've chosen to be around, why is it when this other person comes around, you push away the people you know truly have your best interests at heart? It seems to be a repetitive thing. And then what happens? They go away for a season, happy and in love. And then a season or 2 later, they come right back like,
I messed up.
Tail tucked.
I messed up.
And it's like, yo, why didn't you include the people that you know will tell you straight up, not the yes people, because a lot of times we go and we think we found the right person, but we're afraid to take them to the people we know will challenge us, because we don't want challenge because we're so in love. If you are doing that, that's probably not the right person.
I would agree.
You know what I'm saying?
If you hide in this person, if you don't want to hear, if you don't want them to ask the hard questions to that person, then you know that person's either not the one for you or they're not the one right now.
Yeah. It might not be the right timing. And you're also afraid of somebody telling you, no, you shouldn't do this, that you'll just go do it anyways, and they're the ones trying to protect you. They don't have no interest in it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Like if you tuck in that person away.
Yeah, not good. That's not a good look.
That's a telltale sign.
So listen, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. The first thing I did, when we were when I got to the point where I was like, okay, yes, I know I'm gonna marry you. And we've told our love story. We have 4-part series where in part 4, I kind of came to that place where I was just like, finally, this is the one. Yes. Or part 3, maybe it's part 3, part 4, all of them are good. But when I got to that place, I couldn't help but tell everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I went into those conversations with an open ear, like, let me know if I'm missing something. Do you see something that I'm missing? Or you could go into those same conversations and be like, okay, I want to marry this person. And the person may be, and your counselors, and I'm not talking about like people you pay, like therapists and counselors like that.
Yeah.
I mean the people in your life that are wise,
It's going to give
that
you
are
good feedback.
godly, that'll give you good feedback,
Good wisdom.
and who you have demonstrated you can trust them.
Yeah.
Right? Because in the hard times of life, they've told you, I think you're making the wrong decision. And 9 times out of 10, they probably were right. Those are the people you should be showing this person to.
But I think also instinctually, like if you have a relationship with God, and even if you have even I have to say, like, don't discount the fact that maybe you don't have a very strong relationship with God. I think God has invested. So I think there's times where the Lord, even in your infancy, in your relationship with Him, He's showing you, you're seeing different things. You're seeing red flags. You're seeing signs. You're seeing like pause. Like, I think God is invested in that way to also show you, like, this is not it.
Yeah.
Stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Stop it. Don't move forward. But why do we still bypass those? I don't understand. Why do we bypass those?
Because
those lines.
We want to follow our hearts. We want to follow our heart.
You love the scripture.
It's so true. It's so true.
Okay.
We want to follow our hearts because we think that because this feeling is just so strong that it's right.
Yeah.
And the Bible says that the heart of man is wicked and deceitful above all things. Like,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at this.
This is like the worst part of you. And everybody say, oh, just follow your heart.
Just follow your heart. No, do not follow your heart.
Seriously though. And that's
sometimes it's okay to follow logic. Check. No, that's not right. No, that's not right.
But that's why it's so important that you have these trusted advisors in your life, is because either they're going to confirm what you see, right? Or they'll confirm what you know that you see, but you're trying to bypass.
And sometimes it's okay to just say, you know what? Let's just go to church together.
Yeah. We know some couples, right? There. So we know some couples. We know this one couple, good friends of ours. They've been married a little bit longer than we have.
Yeah.
And I didn't know them when they were getting married, but they always would tell us their story and how, she was a Christian. He wasn't a Christian. They meet at work. She's like, or I guess he's interested. He's trying to take her out. I guess they go out.
And she's like, do you know Jesus?
And she's like, do you know Jesus?
No.
No. And maybe she didn't say it like that, but she brings him to church.
Because she knew he didn't know Jesus. It's like, we gotta get your soul right with the Lord first.
But she didn't just bring him to church. She goes a step further and says, hey, we need to meet with the pastor.
And he's like, sweating bullets.
And so after meeting with the pastor, she's like, hey, this is the guy. And he's like, okay, bro, me and you need to meet. That's healthy.
I have to say, you know what? That is true. Because when I was a new believer and I started dating, and I was trying to date, like, oh, okay, well, how that goes? I would invite them to church and they'd never want to come. And it would just fall off.
Yep.
It was like, they better not show them if they come to the church. And
listen, but I think we.
But yeah, it was like, oh, because this is a huge part of me, my relationship with the Lord. So of course you want to be able to share that with your future spouse or someone you're in a relationship with. So my next step was always like, oh, this is a great date. And when I say dating, I mean we actually went on a date. I don't mean like this long-term thing that you're dating for years thing.
Right,
but we went on a date and we started being interested in each other. This happened probably like 3 people. I was like, okay, now Sunday.
How many guys you was dating before me? Like, I'm thinking this is one guy. This is like 2, 3. You sure it's 3, 4 maybe? Like.
You really want me to count?
Nah, I'm just totally. I don't want to know. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy with what I do.
It never went beyond the dates, okay? We went out.
Actually, I know one of the guys.
Yes.
Like, I knew him before you knew him.
Really?
Yeah, and then I saw him ask you.
Oh yeah.
He gave her a ride, right? And I'm like, no, don't go.
He was probably sitting back there like, son of a gun.
I'm like, she better tell him no. And she says yes. I'm like.
I was like, okay.
I'm looking like.
Listen, You just said.
And then I was like, so they gave you a ride, right? And I'm asking all kind of questions. I don't even remember.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah,
You were?
I was inquiring to make sure like he ain't tried nothing with my future wife.
He had a girlfriend. I could tell. Oh, he was dating someone.
Oh, he was dating a lot of girls.
Oh, okay. Listen, this guy, he was like, oh, you
I was
wanna,
like, no.
listen, I was like, he was like, you want to ride? I was like, sure.
He's a good guy though, no, because he might know if he might see this, you know, and he's like, you talking about me?
Probably.
Like, bro, we cool.
No, but we get in the car, and then, we're talking, and then his phone rings, and he's like, hey, hello. But he did that like ignorant. Then afterwards, he's like, oh, I was talking to my mom. Come on, bro, you was not talking to your mom.
Oh, yeah. Because you'd have been like, hey, mom.
But you know what? I'm happy we had this. I'm happy we're saying this because that's a flag, and some women will be like, "Oh, maybe he was talking to his mom." No, he wasn't. You just getting so wrapped up in the fact that he's driving you in a car, he was nice, and you're willing to maybe that wasn't what it was. For me, I'm like, if I'm already thinking that that's what's happening, and you didn't go out your way to even be like, "Oh, okay," I'm like, I'm not. No, yeah. So that was that was it. I think.
So what would you say the signs are that you probably have found the right one? Because we could talk about red flags all day.
Yeah, because
what are some green flags?
Even with the easy one of like, hey, invite them to church. If they're like, nah, then you just like.
And maybe it's not that they're not the right person, but it's definitely not the right time. If they're not willing.
Don't even entertain that.
To take the steps toward aligning with you, to be on the same page as you spiritually, and do not fall for the okie doke. Meaning, I'm trying to do this without outing people, but don't fall for the okie doke where they'll just go and show up and pretend like they're growing spiritually, but there's no depth to their growth. There's no demonstration of them actually following and obeying Jesus. There's no demonstration of them really pursuing, being convicted and then doing things differently.
Yeah,
you should see things.
Do not get excited because he's standing by the back of the door and then he's the first one out. You're like, oh, he came, but he did not. Yeah. As soon as it was over, he ran out and left. You can be excited for a moment, like, oh, he came. But it's not married time. It's not the time to get married because he came into the building, right? Like, the devil don't mind coming into church. I'm just saying.
And don't get excited just because he wants to talk about God with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like he needs to show that he's walking with Jesus. If he can't show that, like, he's not the right one, or it's definitely not the right time.
You got to see the fruit.
You got to see some fruit.
What is it? You said what you were saying. How do you know if they are the one?
What would you say the signs are for you when a person might have found the right one?
So I think I would compare it, knowing what I know now, comparing you to other people that I've dated. That's the only way I can know. Because, like, you're right, yes, of course. Oh, okay. Because you were the one. It was like, oh.
How did you know I was the one?
But that's what I'm saying. I compared it to the previous non-ones.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I have to say, it requires some patience.
When you put non-one is like nuns.
Nuns. The nuns.
Either the ones or the nuns.
Nuns.
Yeah, meaning none. Don't give them none. Don't give them none.
None. Don't give them none.
Definitely don't give them
No,
body.
but what was interesting, you said the heart is wicked and deceitful of all things, right?
Above all things. Yeah.
Above all things. So if you're dating for the first time and you meet one guy, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, this guy is nice, he's amazing. You have really nothing to compare him to. So it could easily seem like he's the one.
Right, but you do have things to compare him to.
But wait.
Like you can compare him to your dad, you can compare him to your uncle, you can compare him to your pastor, you can compare him to, the men that you know that are spiritually mature.
But here's the thing, I have to keep it in my context.
Okay, go ahead.
In my context, I had nothing to compare him to. Because I
break that down for everybody, because
my dad was out of my life. My mom's husband, I would not give him the honor of calling him stepfather. My mom's husband was evil. And I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Whatever, it is what it is. My mom's husband was evil. And and I had not great relationships in the past. So I didn't have positive male role models.
So this is before we met?
This is before we met.
Okay.
So when I meet someone that's like better than them.
Different.
But I'm saying he was better than them.
Okay.
So for me, I'm like, but in comparison.
Okay.
He was better than them. So for me, I'm like.
Who's he?
What do you mean who's he?
Who are you talking about?
Not you.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, I thought you were initially talking about how you knew I was the right one.
No, I'm comparing you to.
Gotcha.
So I'm comparing you
to your other
my other relationships.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, gotcha.
So my first long-term relationship, I really felt like, oh my gosh, this is the one. This is the person I'm going to be married to. Because compared to the other men in my life, he was nicer.
He's so much nicer.
He's so much nicer, right?
Like, that's the bar. Like.
But what I'm saying is nicer is relative to what you're comparing it to.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
And this is how we get tricked sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So like, if I've been eating Granny Smith apples all my life, and I'm like, oh, apples are sour, and then I get a Red Delicious, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best apple that I've ever had, so I'm gonna think Red Delicious is the best.
Even though it might not
But
be
you haven't had a Honey Crisp yet.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
It's okay.
You just lost me.
It's all right.
I thought you were just gonna say the Red Delicious isn't all the way ripe yet.
No. What I'm saying is,
there's degrees of apples?
You don't know. There's degrees
I don't
of apples.
know.
The Honey Crisp apple.
I know the green ones, though.
Yeah.
Those are Granny Smiths?
Yes, the Granny Smith is sweet and sour, right? It's preference. My preference is, for me, Granny Smith, Red Delicious, Honey Crisp.
Okay,
right?
I'll take your word for it.
I like Honey Crisp. So I have this Red Delicious, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the Red Delicious compared to the sour apples, this is great. Whatever. And so you might think I have the one.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I'm trying to find the one. This is before I know Christ. This is before I know anything. So I'm just going based off of my experience. And so I got tricked. I tricked myself. I didn't know.
How?
And thinking that this is the one.
How?
Because
it was nice.
Because compared to the other.
Hold on. Are you saying just because it was nice? What
I'm
else?
like, this is the best.
What else was there?
This is as best. This is as good as it's gonna get.
So are you comparing him to like? So the men in your life, are you comparing him because you have multiple sisters? Are you comparing him to like your sister's boyfriend?
Yes.
So out of all the guys,
out of all the men I had met in my life before this person, he was a decent human being compared to.
Gotcha.
And then I get into this relationship and I'm like, dear God, he's awful. But he's still decent compared to everybody that I've met. And this is what happens, right? And I think it's probably hard for you to understand your context.
No. This is good though.
No, because I think men have it a little easier. I think it's good. It's easy, in my opinion, to go out and find a very nice woman. You can go to any church.
Okay.
Come on.
Yes.
Men,
from that regard, it is.
Men have a pretty good pick of the litter.
But that's what makes it hard.
That's what makes it hard.
There's more options.
That's what I'm saying.
Y'all have few options.
We have few options.
So it's hard.
So it's worse for us because we have few options.
But because we have many options, it's like, well, dang, how do I know which ones? You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to like figure out the right one based off
Ladies, do we wish we had many options? So many.
But no, but sometimes.
So many good options.
But no, sometimes it's a little easier when it is only like one and then it measures up to certain standards. It's like, okay, well, dang, like that's clearly the one.
I don't know. I disagree with you on that.
Okay.
But I guess we disagree because
I'm not a woman.
You're not a woman, and you have different experiences.
And I got a lot of options.
And you have a lot of options.
Or had.
You had a lot of options. Yeah, you had a lot of options. But and I'm gonna say African American women, right? Black women. Like black women do not have a lot of options if they're trying to date within the black population in America. If you move out of that population, you might have more options. Go ahead, baby.
So is this kind of like that realm where, you know, men in the quote unquote manosphere always talking about, you know, high value man.
High value man. Yeah.
Like it's just so few of these guys that are black that exist that are, you know, and I think a lot of that was just centered around like money and finances and financial ability.
Yeah.
You know. So is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I just
you talking about a financial thing?
No, it's not financial. It's just decent human beings. You gotta get some stories of women. Like we don't. Ladies, put it in the comment section. The worst of the worst that you've ever experienced, just to convince him, because I don't think he knows. You don't understand. It's bad out here in these streets for black women to find a decent guy, and so like you're like an alien. I keep telling you this. Like, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to find decent black men, okay?
I don't look like an alien.
And I'm not talking financially. I'm just talking like they're gonna treat you decent. You know what I'm saying? They're not, they're not abusive. They're when I say abusive, not physically, but just even with their words, caring, putting you first, being mindful of you, being, you know what I'm saying? Pouring into you as, like, you do all of these things for me. That's better than if you were making $1 million.
Okay, so break that. So now, so I think
you speak to my soul. You know what I'm saying? You take care of my soul and my emotions and things like that. Like that's high value to me. So keep your $1 million. Don't say, oh, because I make $1 million, now I can sleep around. You can keep that. I want someone I can feel safe with.
And I think most women do. I think most women care more about the time a man's gonna spend with them than, oh, I gotta go out and earn the money, so that means I can't spend time. Like,
sit there in
who wants that? Who wants to get married and can't spend time with the person
Sit
they're
there
married?
in a cold mansion by myself? No, thank you.
Yeah, so, all right, so you're talking a lot about how all these qualities that you feel make me the one, right?
Yeah.
Or a guy like me would be the one. I think women wanna know, like, what qualities should they be looking for? Like, what are the things that they should be, like what are the telltale signs? What are the things and the qualities, the behaviors, the mindsets that they should be looking for?
But here's the thing. I think women, if I'm being honest, should follow their instinct on that. You know what I'm saying?
Their heart?
Well, not that. What I'm saying is, following your heart, you'll trick yourself into thinking like this is the best that you can.
Anybody's the one.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, going back to my whole Red Delicious, I'm like, I meet this person, I'm like, okay, I want to be in a relationship, I want these things, and this person is decent, so I could trick my heart into thinking like, okay, well, I can work with this, we can do all these things, and I could try to do these things to make him do these things. And that's the trickery of the heart, and thinking that you could change somebody. You can't change anybody. Only Jesus can change someone. So if you meet a decent person and you're like, you know what, he's not so bad, I can love him through these difficult things that he's going through, like that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could try, but eventually you're gonna get worn out. And that's what happened. Like, this person, the person I'm talking like before you, who I was like, this is a decent person, he's nice, and he was nice, but he had anger issues or whatever. And so I'd start to think, okay, well, maybe I could avoid his triggers. Right? That's what my heart is tricking me. Like, oh, okay, you know, I love him, but I can help by avoiding these triggers. Okay, he wasn't he had ambition, but he didn't have the drive to go and get him. So I'm like, oh, I can help him. You know what I'm saying? I can encourage him to go back to school. I can find these things for him to help him be the person that he's trying to be. But if he doesn't have the drive, then I'm like, maybe I can love him enough to do the drive. My heart is tricking me.
Yeah.
Like that, you're being tricked right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, okay, well, he wants to marry me. He doesn't have a father in his life. He doesn't have any men. This is my instinct, right? Telling me these things. Well, my logic, and this is before I know Christ. So I'm like, ladies, come on. Before I even knew Christ, my mind is like, well, he doesn't have a father in his life. His father abandoned him. He told me the story about how he ran away when he was 8 to try to find his father, and the police had to bring him back home. And I'm like, oh, Tito, one day we will have our children and you will be a dad. That's my heart tricking me. Like, this man has no grounds of how to do this. Yeah. This man, he doesn't have mentors in his life. He doesn't have any men in his life. So he's like, I'm going to do this on my own. And God bless him. I'm pretty sure he felt that way. But my heart is like, one day we're going to have children and he's going to be the best dad. And my mind is like, girl, he don't know what to do. He may not be the best person to have children with.
He's not being led.
Yeah.
So how can he lead?
Exactly.
Like, he has no clue, no concept. I don't even know him. Yeah. But like, he has no concept of like what that looks like.
So my heart all these times are tricking me into thinking that all those things, oh, okay, I can help him to be the best man that he can be. And that my heart, I did not know that my heart was tricking me.
Yeah.
And so when we get into the relationship and we have kids, now my mind is like, see, now, we have a child together, and now, like, he's verbally abusive. Now his anger is towards me, and I don't know how to navigate that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And you had seen all these things.
I had seen all these things prior, but it wasn't as explosive. It was just more contained. But we don't realize when we get in relationships with people, a lot of those things that we struggle with now become amplified.
Oh yeah.
Right? And so that's what happened. We got together, became amplified, but I was invested. My heart was like no, we're gonna do these things to kind of work it out. And so what ended up happening? We had to break up because the anger was just too much out of control. Now I had a child, and now I'm concerned for the child and my safety. And then he would disappear for months at a time, leaving our child. He didn't know exactly what his father did. And so, and so what I'm saying is, like, our hearts can really trick us. And so now I meet you. The difference is, now you have a different background than him, but what attracted me most to you is, like, you weren't being led by yourself. You were like, oh, I have this relationship with God, and he leads and he guides me. And so you were getting your identity and your guidance and leading from in the moment what I thought, like, it was God. I didn't understand it, but I was like, wow, like, you're not getting everything that you need from me. Like, I can't give that to you, even as much as I want. I could support, but you were like, no, God first, and I'm looking for a wife that's also thinking God first. And I was like, wow, that lifted the weight off of me, and feeling like, okay, well, you did have a plan. And it wasn't that you were rich, it wasn't that, you know what I'm saying, and you had a son. You know what I'm saying? So all the things that I would think, my mind is like, okay, these could possibly be red flags or whatever. But then it was like, well, he has a son, but he's taking care of his son. He you know what I'm saying? His father is in Florida, but he's going to church and he's trying to do, you know what I'm saying? You're
leading. I had spiritual fathers.
You had spiritual fathers.
Spiritual father.
More than one. Yeah, and then you were trying to, like, hey, encourage me to grow in my faith and in my relationship with the Lord and so forth. And I had never experienced that before. So going back to my apple, now I have a Honey Crisp. I'm like, oh, snap. Like, that is, for me, the better, like, wow. But had I had stayed here, I would always, had I had stayed in that relationship and not, you know what I'm saying, I could have been like, you know what, I can make this work. Like, it's not totally, I could fix it. Yeah. Then I would have never experienced the goodness that God had for me. And so I say that to say, sometimes you just have to wait and really hear from the Lord, because the first thing that you could see may not be the right thing, and it could be good. And that's not to say the person is a bad person. I'm not going to say, like, oh, he was just this awful person or whatever. And I think we as women try to see the best in people. Yeah. But
I think
hold out.
Yeah, I think some people get so thirsty for a relationship that they'll just take it and then do all the things that you said that you saw logically, but then you bypassed because your heart was telling you something different.
I can help him.
And I think that happens so often. I think most of the people that we see get into the most broken relationships, that's always like the pattern. It's like all these things were happening that were clearly unhealthy, but one, they didn't have the strength to stop themselves just in the natural. Then they didn't have the supernatural strength to stop themselves because they weren't really in a relationship with Jesus. And then they didn't even have the external strength to get stopped because they weren't in fellowship with people who they invited into their lives for the sole purpose of them being able to speak into their lives.
And the last thing I'll say is I really want to encourage women, especially in this idea of, we kind of go into it, we'll see someone that has potential to be great, and then we'll be like, oh, well, I don't want that he's a nice person, let me help him. Like, we have to be very careful when our mind goes to, I can help, or I can help him.
That was where I messed up.
Because, especially for women, I think women fall so much for this because essentially that helping thing is a gift that God has given us. But you go back to the garden, God said, I will give you a helpmate, right? And so that natural inclination to want to help a man and to support a man is, in fact, it is something that God has put in us, but without being tempered and guided by the Lord, it can get out of control and you start using that gift in the wrong way that God never intended. You can't change anybody and you can't help someone beyond what God is doing. And so when we talk about being a helpmate, it is your role to partner with the Holy Spirit in prayer and in support, and the Holy Spirit guides me in how to help and support my husband, as opposed to my own controlling mindset to say, I can come in and I'm going to help you and you're going to be great and this I'm going to do. You're just going to wear yourself out. out because
And
you're
wear
not,
him out in the
and
process.
you're gonna wear him out in the process.
I know.
What you gonna hear him say is, "You can't control me."
Or why you always nagging
Why
me?
you always nagging me?
Yeah.
Like and he's gonna get frustrated. Oh, you're doing this thing to me, and it's gonna come off wrong, and you'll be like, "But I'm just trying to help you be honest."
And the thing is, the Lord, like, if your relationship is centered with Jesus in the middle, the Lord knows what he or she needs.
And he will guide you into, and usually how to do it, but it will always usually start with prayer.
Or sometimes he may not even use you in the process of giving them what they need.
Exactly.
It may come from somewhere outside of you. There's been so many times where I feel like I was trying to tell you something to help you, and like months later, you'd be like, I was talking to so-and-so, and they said such and such. And I was
sitting there
like,
like, I said
I'm like, I've been saying
months
that.
ago. You do the same thing to me. I have to suck it up like,
yeah.
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But and
be careful, ladies, with that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, don't go into it like, even if, and this could be the person for you.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go into it like, oh, I can help. You be like, I can pray.
So what are some concrete things that women can and should look for? And I'll say maybe some concrete things that men can and should look for.
Ladies, I can only say one concrete thing that you should look for.
Come on, man.
I can only say one.
You're giving a Jesus answer.
I have to give the Jesus answer.
No. You don't have to. Yes, no. Okay, you have to give a Jesus answer. But I want you to help the people who are also. Listen, I want you to help the people who are also.
I have to say that. I'm gonna help you.
Help the people who are also not there spiritually yet. Okay? Because they're on a journey. They're on a journey. Because I don't know exactly what you're gonna say. I have a good, strong indication.
They all know what I'm gonna say. They're like, oh man, try to give us something juicier.
If you watch any of our videos, you probably know kind of where this is going. But
okay, I can give them.
I want you to give them the Jesus answer. Give them the best answer.
Yes.
Right. But then I want you to also give them some.
I'm gonna give you the only answer, Jesus.
But then give them some practical answers. I got it. But here's the thing. I'm not stopping Charity because we want you to somehow have answers that are outside of Jesus. Jesus is the answer. Okay. Why I am I want her just to kind of add a little bit and shape it a little bit more with some additional practical things is so that, we are all able to kind of walk away with, okay, well, how do I get to Jesus too? Like, you know what I'm saying? And like the growth trajectory of where a person may be to where Jesus is going to bring them.
That makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah. What?
The door.
Oh, it's okay. Hold on, y'all. Our daughter's at the door. Say hi, Azari. Okay, so should I start practical? Then I go to the Jesus answer?
I want to control your answer. So
too late.
Yeah.
Kidding. I'm gonna start practical because I didn't start as a believer when I met you.
Exactly.
So I will start practical. Ladies, before you just pick up the first apple, right? Just don't pick. I'm going back to my apple now.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead.
Don't pick up the first apple. Try a few apples in this thing called. Wait. Hold on.
A second.
Let me finish. Date. And when I say date, I don't mean like date long term and all those things. Be okay, just saying, hey, we can go hang out, we can go to a movie and just get to know a person.
Okay. Talk to the person out there because everybody just heard that differently.
What do you mean?
I'm telling you, watch this. Some people heard exactly what you just said and what you meant, which was, all right, take an opportunity or a couple opportunities to explore different types of people in short term fashion.
What does that mean?
Meaning go on dates.
Meaning?
Go on dates.
Yeah.
Just go on some dates.
Yeah.
Right?
Go hang out with somebody.
That's what you meant.
Yeah.
Some people heard take a bite out of the apple.
Oh no, do not.
And take a bite out of a few apples.
Don't bite that.
Because when they go out on a date, they so thirsty, you know if this is you, that you're just ready just to give your whole body, give your whole self.
Okay, in that case, all right.
You get what I'm saying?
I have to go back to, I have to go follow that.
So give them that, but then give them the parameters around that.
Cut that out. All right, so pre-Jesus, when I met you, there was just something about you initially, not beyond what you looked and things like that. It's just something that I felt drawn to you. And I had never felt that way about anybody. And I was curious. I was like, oh, okay. At the time, I didn't know that it was something more. It just felt like, oh, was a stronger connection that I had no awareness of, but I didn't know about Jesus or anything at that moment.
And I could have totally taken advantage of that.
You could have.
My old self would have.
You would have. You would have.
No, I'm just saying, like the guy I was, before I really got serious about my relationship with Jesus, like the guy that I was, I would have taken advantage of that.
So,
not to be malicious, just to be self-pleasing.
Of course. So this is for the baby believer, right? So
or just the person who isn't yet strong in their faith.
That's a baby believer.
I know, but like they might not know that terminology.
Okay, if you're not strong yet, then
nobody wants to consider themselves a baby.
Okay. So
everybody think they're more. No, seriously, I'm just saying. I'm trying to be like.
Listen, if you ain't talking to God every day and reading your word, and you have not come to the terms that I'm going to follow everything that He says in His book, then you a baby believer. And it's okay. It's no shame in that. Okay. Right. But first thing. I'm gonna give you practically. First thing you have to do is pray and ask God to protect your heart. Okay, you can't move, even regardless of where you are on the spectrum. That way, you won't be able to fall for the knuckleheads and be thirsty. You thirst for the Lord instead of thirsting for the dudes. Okay. That has to happen. Okay, put on your seatbelt. That's your seatbelt. Okay.
Oh, see, are you talking about like just put boundaries around yourself, or are you talking about put on a condom?
Put on your spiritual seatbelt.
Okay.
Regardless of where you are in your faith, right? Listen, ladies, I'm talking to the ladies. Am I?
Yeah.
I'm talking to the ladies. Very important, okay? We're thirsty, okay? People are thirsty out here, and you just have to admit that, okay? I want to be in a relationship. I want it really bad. You got to be honest with yourself. Even where I wanted a relationship. I saw him and I was like, hey, right? So be honest that even
You're thirsty.
Like we're thirsty. The scriptures say that we are. Like we should thirst for God, right?
Ooh,
we do.
Yeah, okay.
Like Jesus said, what we drink, we're going to thirst again. But the water He gives, we will never thirst anymore.
Deep to get that one. I was just like, where does it say that we're thirsty?
So you're thirsty.
Yes. That's John chapter 4. Go ahead.
Thank you. We are thirsty. And you just have to admit that. The first step to admitting that you're thirsty is to just say that you're thirsty.
You know what's crazy? He was talking to a woman too.
Right? Like we want, we want things. And if we're not.
He was talking to a woman who had multiple husbands. Wow, this is good.
You're thirsty. I was thirsty, right? So the first step is admitting, if you're here and you're watching this and you're single and you're trying to figure out how to get your husband and things like that, it's because you're thirsty. You are thirsting for something to fill you. And it could be a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Yeah. You want to be in companionship. So the first step is saying, you know what, God, this is why I really want this. But on this journey, I need you to protect my heart so I don't fall for some silly random.
Yeah. Can I just interject a little piece on that? God made you to be thirsty.
Yes.
But
we're supposed to
what
thirst
He
for
wants
Him.
is that your thirst is satisfied in Him, in Jesus Christ first, and then the thirst that you have for a relationship now can be satisfied in a healthy way because He's fulfilled the primary thirst, and now it's like, okay, well, now you can be with somebody and it not be like you're looking for that person to satisfy all your needs because they can't.
And it's nothing to be like ashamed about. Like we're thirsty, you know what I'm saying? And that happens. Like there's times where I want my husband's attention. He's not giving it to me. I'm thirsty. Like, come on, give it to me. So no one's around right now. Just tell the Lord, I'm thirsty. I want to thirst for you. Help me to put to get my nourishment for you. But right now, I really want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be alone anymore. Be honest with God. Tell God, I'm sick of this. I want to be in a relationship. But as I'm on this journey, Lord, and I know that you're going to bring me the right person, protect my heart so I don't fall for someone I'm not supposed to be with. You got to give the journey to the Lord so He can protect you in this season where you're searching. Like you have to be protected. Okay, and that's real. Okay, so that's the first step. when I met Laban, there was just so many things that lined up with how we were compatible.
Okay.
And for me, that was the telltale sign that I had found the person that I was supposed to be with. It felt like it was the male version of me. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, you like this? I like this. You do this? It was so much of that. I'm talking just naturally in your natural state. This is before I knew the Lord. We had conversations. He was from Africa. I was from the Virgin Islands. So our cultural, even though we're different cultural backgrounds, our standards were the same. Our standards of how we view children, our standards of how we view work, our standards of how we view people should carry themselves were the same.
So not just our interests.
Yeah.
Right?
Not
Like,
just our
so there's
interests.
plenty of things that we don't
Yeah.
agree. She likes to read. I hate to read.
Yeah.
You know, she
I'm
likes to
not
write.
talking
I hate to write. Like
I'm not talking interests.
Yeah.
I'm talking like values. Our values were the same. Our values just lined up. So it was very easy talking to him. I didn't have to feel like I had to hide myself or tuck certain things in, you know, and it was I was having a refreshing conversation with a man for the first time in my life. I felt like, you get me. I get you. You know what I'm saying? Then as we continued talking, we found that there were interests that we had. He was a producer, I was a singer. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that that's gonna happen. It doesn't have to be that. But I'm talking about the ease of the conversation. I felt like I was just talking. Now, you gotta be mindful, ladies, because sometimes a dude would say something, you would say something, and he'd just, because he's chasing you, you'd find like
everything
really?
you like.
You like that too?
Yeah.
But as he was talking, I just let him talk. He was just talking about himself, talking about things that he was doing. I was finding that it was like magnets to his conversation, to the things that I valued, to the things that I was passionate about, or things like that, without having to say anything.
And I think the way you knew it was genuine is our conversations lasted.
For a long, we would talk
Like,
for hours.
we could, no matter where we are, when we are, no matter how we feel even, we could kind of always have a very great in-depth conversation. Not surface level, but
nice.
just really,
like, we could go deep. We would talk for hours. If a man could talk to you, we could talk. He'd talk for hours, just so intrigued in what I had to say, so intrigued in what he had to say. And before we were officially dating, we were just getting to know one another. We'd fall asleep on the phone, just talking for hours. And
I don't recommend that though.
But like it was just, the conversation was just so, and it was nothing sensual.
Right.
He never was like, let me send me a picture of yourself. He was always he was genuinely interested in what I had to say. First time that I had experienced that, and I was genuinely interested in everything that he had to say. I was fascinated. I was intrigued. I had questions. I wanted to know more about him. He wanted to know more about me, and it was both-sided. That's how I knew that I had found the person that I was supposed to be with. Because even to this day, we're married for 13 years, and we still have long conversations. We could talk for a long time, and that's how I knew that this was the person that I needed to be with. And then he brings me to church. Now he brings me into this world of his. And when I came into a relationship with God, God confirmed it in his way. I'm not gonna tell you how, like, go back and read the other things, but then God put his, like, no, this was from me. I'm doing this. And it was, so the natural thing, that's the natural thing those are two things I could say. Admit that you have a thirst and give it to God so he can protect you in this searching that you're doing as he's bringing, you know what I'm saying, as you're in the space. And two, when you meet that person, I felt just a natural connection and a flow, not an attraction. Like, of course there was attraction, but it was beyond the attraction. Like, the attraction was probably like 5%, like, oh, I like you, enough for me to draw the conversation.
Hold on.
And
you didn't like me 5%?
I mean, the attraction.
Y'all just heard that, right?
The attraction, I don't know about y'all women, but the attraction, of course, I was attracted to you, but the attraction.
No, I know what you're saying.
In the scheme of everything, the attraction was just enough to get me to the conversation and get me talking. And then 95% of it was the values, the conversation, it was just so much more of that. So now I know that if my husband, God forbid, gets into a tragic accident, and he's burned from head to toe, I will still stay with this man because, like, I genuinely enjoy his company. I genuinely enjoy being around him.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So I'll talk to the men for a quick second.
I hope you could say the same thing about me.
I totally could. But I'll say this to the men. How do you know you found the right one? I'm gonna start by kind of going to the end. If you decide to marry somebody, marriage is an as-is proposition. Meaning, once you say I do, if that person never changes, I will be okay with that. Because some people marry the person that they think a person can be. And that is like wrong.
That's how
And
women date.
maybe, huh?
That's how women date.
Yeah, well, I've done it too.
Yeah.
I almost got married to a person based on what I knew that they could eventually become.
That's not it.
And that's just not the way to approach it. And so when you get to the place who you're wondering, like, is this the right one for me? Like, can you take that person as is, not meaning, and let me just kind of make this a little easier too. There will be flaws. You will find flaws in this woman. The question is, are you able to live with those flaws as is? I bought a TV back in the days of Circuit City, when Circuit City used to be a thing before Best Buy. It's Circuit City, and I bought this TV, and I was like, wow, like I can get this really nice TV at half the price. But it was half the price because it was already outside the box, and they were like, it's just an as is, meaning if you purchase this, you can't put a warranty on it. So if anything happens to it, you can't bring it back. That's how marriage is. You know what I'm saying? Now that TV lasted me for many, many years because I did an assessment on the front end. I looked at that TV. I was like, okay, what's wrong with this TV? And then I talked to the people who worked there, who interacted with that TV every day that was on the floor, right? And I was like, well, and they just told me like, the reason why it's out here is that it has this dent on the back. It was a minor dent. You seen the TV, you probably never saw the dent. Like, so I went into it knowing that. But if something would have broken or something, I would have had to accept the responsibility for that because I purchased it as is. That's marriage. Like, whatever the woman's wrestling with, whatever's in her background, whatever's in her experiences, good and bad, you're taking all of that on. And
don't scare him.
No. I was just about to lift the load a little bit. You're gonna take on more than you can possibly bear, which is why you need a relationship with Jesus, because he's the one who can bear it all. He has to be her go-to. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And so we've gone through some challenging times. You're not gonna get married and not go through challenging times. The question is, do you want to go through challenging times with somebody who at least, you can enjoy them somewhat in the difficulty, right?
At least like them.
Yeah, at least long for, man, I hope this gets good again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And because sometimes when we're going through it in our worst moments, I'm like, I can't stand her. but it's really, I can't stand her right now.
Yeah.
Right? And in other episodes, I talked about how, you got to believe that who that person is when things are good. Like that's the same person when things are hard. There's just a lot of other forces that are going in. Once you get married, that's marriage talk. Okay? So for the people the people who are already married and may be feeling like, oh, did I marry the right one? I don't think I married the right one. No, you got what you got, bro. Like you can't undo that. Unless she's out there cheating on you, you can't undo that. However, I do believe
you shouldn't undo it because somebody be like, yes, I can. I could just divorce.
Well, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do, right? You shouldn't undo it. If you're looking to have a relationship, or if you want your walk to be obedient to the Lord, like God can take your mess and turn it into something that is honoring to him and glorifying to him. So he can do the shifting, but you have to trust him for it. I know men. I've had men call me and be like, bro, like, man, like God is really real because of the shift they've seen in their marriages. Yeah. Okay, but so marriage is as is, and so what are the things you should be looking for? I think, and I hope you don't get offended by none of this, but I think there's some natural things that men want, right? I think men want a woman who is, and I think different things. I think, there's a big.
How do you look?
No.
Should I leave the room?
No, you're good. there's a big conversation about feminine energy and all that stuff.
That sounds demonic. Mess around, get someone with a Jezebel spirit.
Listen, don't get too caught up in all that stuff. Like, because anybody can exhibit any kind of energy at any time, right? When she gets mad, her energy gonna be real masculine. Almost every woman.
Beast mode.
Okay, so like you can't base it on just all these things that men talk about.
Yeah.
Right? You have to kind of really just base it on a case-by-case basis. And so, what is her personality like?
Yeah.
Do you gel with her personality? Do you feel that she values your input? Does she value what you bring to the table? Does she value where you're going in life?
I did.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a huge thing. If she doesn't value where you're going in life and she's trying to take you to go a different direction, like, that may feel comforting, like, oh, I got somebody to help me out. But what may eventually happen is that you guys get down the road and then you start becoming sure in yourself and she's still like, no, you need to go this way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know how to say it in a way that really simplifies it, or really, because I don't want to nuance it so much that people, every woman they meet, they're like, oh, she's trying to pull me away, or
trying to control me.
It's a healthy balance, right? It's a healthy balance. And is she demonstrating that she's willing to take you as is? Or is she always trying to change you? You know what I'm saying? So yes, we all want the other person to be better, but there's a way to get to that better. And that way is not through manipulation. That way, so if you feel like you're being manipulated, you might want to keep it moving. If you feel like there's a burden on you to be better, you may want to keep going. Now, that doesn't
feel like she emasculates you.
Yeah, like there should be respect.
Yes.
Right? Even when you are struggling, right? And in your lower moments, there should still be respect, right? And because what'll happen in marriage is that, you all may be going through a hard time, or you may be going through a hard time, or she may be going through a hard time. There needs to be enough patience for that person to have that journey, and enough support where that person doesn't feel abandoned in that journey, or feel like I'm bad because as a man, I don't have it all together. Women, I'm going to give you a hint. Men don't have it all together.
They don't.
And just because they look like they have it all together on the outside doesn't mean that they do have it all together. We do a good job of pretending. We do a good job of putting it on because that's what is expected of us in the world, and so we know how to put on. But one of the things I think is healthy is if men learn how to share what's really happening.
Yes. Just tell her.
And if you don't feel safe enough to share what's really happening,
maybe you should keep it moving.
That might not be the right one. So anyway, that's a few things. I mean, we can go on and on and on. I just wanted us to have a moment where we could drop a few jewels on you. And in every video, we drop a ton of jewels. Mm-hmm. So we want you to go and check the next video that's gonna come up right at the end of this program. We've had a great time with you, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Pray for your man, ladies. Pray for your man. Pray for him now.
Peace.